Now at the show we're actually looking at two new plugins. We've got the Fabrik R and the Fabrik C. I'll just bring those up on the screen for you to have a look at now. This is the Fabrik R. Now basically what TC have done with these plugins, I'm sure a number of people will be thinking, oh, we don't need another reverb and we don't need another compressor and EQ. But the thing that really sets these two plugins apart is they use a new graphical interface that TC have pioneered using a system called Mint. Now basically Mint stands for Meta-Intuitive Navigational Technology. And basically the upshot of that is it makes for plugins that are very easy for the end user to kind of get to grips with. Sometimes things like multi-band dynamics can be really daunting for people without much experience, and the same with reverb, and you have to wade through hundreds and hundreds of parameters, which in the end you end up getting a worse sound than when you started. Now what the Mint technology enables you to do is to very quickly, using your own intuition and a graphical interface, move balls around the screen. As you can see on the plugin, there's a triangular type section on the right hand side which allows you to move these balls around in a graphical environment and hear all the parameters interact with each other. So what I'll do now is I'll show you the Fabrik R on a piano and I'll show you the quality of the reverb. It's worth mentioning that although these plugins have a really interesting graphical interface, the actual quality of the plugins themselves is incredibly good. In fact, the reverb, I would say, is one of TC's best sounding reverbs on a software platform. So let's have a listen now to the Fabrik R. I'll call it up on a piano. Okay, we've got a piano playing. Now you can hear it's got a nice lush reverb. All we do with this interface is very simple. We choose one of the 4 reverb algorithms from the left hand side. In this case we've got Hall. We might be choosing Live, we might be choosing Plate, we might be choosing Club, but in this case we're going to use a Hall. And then we move over to the graphical interface on the right. Now the first parameters we're going to look at are the pre-delay and decay. So we grab the R ball, which is the white one, and we just move it around the screen. You can hear the pre-delay and the decays changing as I move that. Both parameters are interacting with each other. Let's hear that one more time. A really long decay. A nice long pre-delay, a short decay. Now the second one we've got is the colour. Now quite often you want a reverb to kind of fit in your track. You want the kind of treble and bass to be kind of boosted or cut, and you have to do that normally with EQ. Within the Fabrik R, you have a ball called colour, and that basically allows you to kind of tailor the reverb for your mix. So let's move the colour ball and make the reverb sound dark. We've got a nice dark reverb now with not any top end in it. Or we could have a really bright reverb with no bottom end in it, or we could find somewhere in between. And we move on to the final ball that I'm really pleased is implemented in this plugin, and that's modulation. Now the modulation ball really allows you to get those kind of dense cascading reverbs that we're all familiar with from the 80s. It really helps the reverb to be lush and expansive. So the modulation ball's the red ball. I'll show you without the modulation and then with the modulation. We move the ball to the left-hand corner. No modulation. You can kind of hear that the reverb itself is quite thin. We then move the ball on to the right-hand corner. Suddenly the reverb's really kind of expansive and warm. And this is one of the best things about the Fabrik R. It really allows you to get those dense reverbs, which are very hard to get with, say, convolution reverbs. So that's the Fabrik R.